You are in Yellowstone National Park, and you are a park ranger. At first glance, it feels like the life everyone secretly dreams of. You wake up surrounded by pine trees, the sound of birds replaces any alarm clock, and the mountains greet you with crisp air that feels untouched by the modern world. You step outside in your uniform, thinking this is what freedom looks like: walking trails, keeping the forest alive, being the silent guardian of a sacred land. Tourists look at you with admiration. Kids stare in awe when they see the badge, and for a second you almost believe you are the hero of this story. The truth, however, crushes that illusion before your boots hit the dirt road. Your day is not a hike. It is a patrol that can last 12 hours without a break. You carry gear that digs into your shoulders until your skin burns. The pay for this supposed dream job barely covers rent and food, while the park itself consumes your body and mind like fire on dry grass. When you walk through the forest, every sound that breaks the silence reminds you of the risks hidden behind the beauty. That rustle in the bush could be a deer, or it could be a grizzly. That distant column of smoke on the horizon is not a postcard. It is a wildfire spreading faster than you can run. And you are the one expected to push against it, with little more than training, a shovel, and blind determination. The nature you came to protect becomes a predator in itself, and you are nothing more than prey caught in the wrong place. Even the people you thought you were protecting do not make your job easier. Tourists leave trash that lures bears. They ignore warnings. They demand help when they wander off trails. Every time you answer a call, you know it might lead you deeper into danger, and no one outside this uniform will ever know what you risk to pull a stranger back to safety. You eat lunch alone, often cold food packed from the morning, staring into a valley that would look like paradise to anyone else. To you, it is a reminder of how far you are from the rest of the world. Cell service cuts out, the radio crackles, and you realize that if something happens, you are not minutes away from help but hours. The dream of working in nature becomes a cage of silence and endless responsibility. You thought you were choosing a peaceful life, but you are chained to an unpredictable wilderness where one mistake can cost you everything. And this is only the beginning, because you do not yet realize the price you will pay to stay in the middle of this so-called paradise. You are deep in the forest now, and the postcard beauty that once surrounded you has turned into a minefield of dangers waiting for the slightest mistake. The biggest threat is fire. A single lightning strike, or the carelessness of a camper, can turn an entire valley into an inferno within minutes. And you are not a firefighter with heavy machinery and endless backup. You are a ranger with basic gear, a helmet, a shovel, maybe a hose if the truck can reach the area, and often it cannot. You feel the heat tighten in your skin, smoke choking your lungs, flames moving faster than you can run. The forest you swore to protect becomes a living trap, and there is no escape except forward into the blaze, because your duty is to hold the line until reinforcements arrive. Then there are the animals, the ones tourists travel miles to photograph, and you are forced to confront at arm's length. You learn quickly that a bear does not care about your badge, that a mountain lion does not hesitate to stalk you from the shadows, that wolves move silently until they choose not to. You walk trails where the snap of a branch is enough to freeze your blood, because it could mean a predator is circling, watching, calculating. You carry bear spray, but you know in your heart that a can of chemicals is nothing against 400 pounds of muscle and teeth charging at you in silence until the last second. Even smaller animals keep you on edge. Venomous snakes coil in tall grass, ready to strike your leg before you even see them. Clouds of mosquitoes bite through clothing, carrying diseases that can leave you sick for months. Ticks cling to your skin, waiting to inject bacteria that destroys joints and nerves, and no one will notice until it is too late. The dangers do not sleep when the sun goes down. Night patrols strip away your last defenses, because vision is your only shield and darkness takes it away. You walk trails where your flashlight beam barely cuts through the black, and every sound is amplified, every echo distorted. A branch falling feels like a predator pouncing. The flutter of wings feels like claws scraping stone. Your pulse races, your breathing becomes louder than the forest itself, and you know that if something attacks you here, no one will reach you in time. The radio on your hip is a lifeline that fails more often than it saves, and the knowledge that backup is hours away pushes you into a state of constant tension. Fear becomes part of your uniform. You do not wear it visibly, but it clings tighter than the badge on your chest, reminding you that every step into the wilderness could be your last. You are stationed miles away from the nearest town, in a cabin that feels more like a cage than a shelter, and the silence is so heavy it presses against your chest. Days stretch into weeks without seeing your family, without hearing anything beyond the crackle of the radio and the distant calls of animals in the dark. At first you tell yourself this is peace, that you wanted to escape the noise of the city, but soon the silence begins to eat at you. Conversations with fellow rangers are rare because each of you is spread across massive territories, guarding pieces of wilderness that seem endless. Your only link to the outside world is the radio, which cuts in and out. Its static a reminder that if something goes wrong, you may not even be able to call for help. Nights are the hardest. You sit alone with a weak lamp buzzing above you, flipping through the same outdated magazines or trying to distract yourself with routine maintenance tasks. But the walls close and all the same. Loneliness grows louder than any predator, gnawing at your mind in ways you cannot fight. Depression and anxiety creep in, and for many rangers, the forest becomes less of a sanctuary and more of a prison without bars. The worst part is realizing that all of this sacrifice is rewarded with barely enough money to survive. Park rangers are often paid wages that would not support a single person comfortably in a city, let alone someone living in remote conditions where supplies are expensive and repairs are constant. You put in extra hours monitoring trails, responding to emergencies, fighting fires, yet overtime often goes unpaid. Some rangers live out of trailers parked near the edge of the park, their walls thin against the winter cold, because the official housing is either full or too run down to endure. You wear the uniform proudly, but beneath it your bank account bleeds dry while the job demands more every year. You look at tourists who spend more on a weekend vacation than you make in weeks, smiling as they walk away with photos of the beauty you guard at the expense of your sanity. The government praises conservation in speeches, but starves its frontline protectors, leaving you to shoulder an impossible responsibility with no reward but exhaustion. Every long patrol, every stormy night, every empty paycheck deepens the weight pressing on you, and the invisible scars of the job are often worse than the physical ones. You start to realize that solitude and poverty combined are not just hardships. They are dangers in themselves, slowly eroding your strength until you are left vulnerable. And it is not only loneliness that kills you out here. Sometimes it is the very work itself that places you directly in the path of death. You are wearing the uniform, and you are told this is a position of honor. But history shows how easily that honor can turn into tragedy. On January 1st, 2012, at Mount Rainier National Park in Washington, Ranger Margaret Anderson was performing a routine traffic stop when a heavily armed gunman opened fire. She was killed in the line of duty before backup could even reach her. Her life cut short not by the wilderness, but by violence that intruded into it. Her story echoes in the silence of every ranger who pulls over a car, knowing that behind the windshield could be a family of tourists or someone ready to kill. Go back further to October 1980 in Yosemite National Park, where Ranger James McBride fell to his death while attempting a cliffside rescue. The terrain he patrolled every day became the very force that ended his life, reminding every ranger who climbs rock faces or leans over ravines that the landscape is not forgiving, even to those sworn to protect it. The dangers are not just accidents or isolated acts of violence. In Yellowstone, where millions of visitors marvel at the geysers and valleys, rangers have faced attacks from the very animals they are tasked to manage. In 2010, a ranger responding to a call near Canyon Village was mauled by a grizzly bear, surviving but carrying permanent scars that told a story no brochure will ever print. In 2015, another ranger faced a similar encounter in the same park, reinforcing that even decades of training cannot fully prepare you when a predator decides to strike. These are not exaggerated fears. They are documented moments when nature stripped away the illusion of control in seconds. Beyond the United States, the role becomes even deadlier. In Africa, rangers are often the only barrier between and danger. Wildlife and organized poachers armed with military-grade weapons. In Botswana and Kenya, rangers have been ambushed and killed in firefights while trying to stop illegal hunters. Their work is not simply walking trails or guiding tourists. It is frontline combat in a war that most of the world never sees. Each death is rarely reported outside the conservation community. Yet every fallen ranger is another reminder that the job holds risks far beyond what most people imagine. The International Ranger Federation has recorded hundreds of ranger deaths worldwide every single year, from gunfire, animal attacks, falls, drownings, and exhaustion in remote areas where medical help is impossible to reach in time. Every statistic is a life, a story, a family left behind because someone chose to protect land that most people only drive through once on vacation. You enter the profession thinking you will be preserving beauty, but you soon understand you are gambling with your life every day. Whether from bullets, cliffs, flames, or claws, countless rangers before you have paid the price. The forest does not forgive mistakes, and the job does not pause to grieve. Each tragedy folds silently into the history of the parks, while the next ranger puts on the same uniform and walks the same paths, knowing the risk remains waiting at every turn. You are told that working as a park ranger is the dream of those who love nature, that it is freedom wrapped in mountains, rivers, and endless skies. But by now the dream has already rotted into something much darker. You began this journey believing you would spend your days walking trails, protecting animals, guiding visitors, and living in harmony with the wilderness. Yet what you actually found was a life of constant risk, heavy isolation, and a paycheck that barely keeps you alive. The beauty around you is real, but it is indifferent, and every sunrise is another reminder that your body and mind will be tested again and again. You endure the constant threat of fire, smoke burning your lungs while you swing a shovel at the flames with equipment that feels useless against a wall of heat. You walk past where predators roam, knowing that you are one mistake away from teeth or claws tearing through your skin. You spend nights in remote stations where the silence itself becomes an enemy, where the radio crackles just enough to remind you that you are alone, where your thoughts grow heavy with each day cut off from the world. The people who visit the park see the surface, they take their photos, they marvel at waterfalls, and then they leave. They do not see you chasing poachers armed with rifles, or dragging injured hikers for miles to reach safety, or pushing your body through blizzards and storms when no one else is willing to be out there. They do not see the rangers who never made it home, their names carved into memorials, their deaths written in short reports that never captured the weight of the sacrifice. Margaret Anderson killed during a routine stop, James McBride falling from a cliff during a rescue, rangers torn apart by bears in Yellowstone, rangers shot dead in Africa by poachers, and countless others who died anonymously because their deaths did not make headlines. You carry all of their stories every time you put on the uniform, knowing that you could be the next. And for what? The government praises conservation, but leaves rangers scraping by with wages that do not match the risk. The public loves the idea of parks, but forgets the human cost of keeping them safe. You sacrifice your body, your sanity, and possibly your life. Yet the reward is little more than exhaustion and the faint hope that someone, somewhere, might appreciate what you gave. The truth is sharp and bitter. Being a park ranger is not freedom. It is servitude dressed as romance. It is isolation without relief, danger without glory, duty without recognition. You do not control nature, you survive it. And you survive it for the sake of people who will never know your name. The dream of working in nature hides the reality that you are being exploited, pushed into risks that no salary can justify, left to face fire, predators, and silence alone. In the end, the badge on your chest is not a symbol of honor. It is a target, and every day you wear it, you gamble with your life for a job that will never give back what it takes from you.